Thanks for staying with us. It's still in the game, and it's now time to turn our attention to African football, talking about the very best of the qualifiers for the African Cup of Nations taking place in Ivory Coast. And yes, quite a handful of matches to expect today, 3 in fact. And you have Namibia, who are also hoping to get the very best in terms of qualification. You have the fixtures. Sudan will be taking on Mauritania. You have Burundi against Namibia and Ethiopia against Malawi. Now, for Namibia, they're eyeing a historic qualification because they've qualified 3 times. They're hoping to qualify for a 4th time to the competition. And they will be taking on Burundi, and who are their neighbors, regional neighbors, you want to call it. Remember, for Namibia, this is definitely an important step in the development of their football. Now, we're now being joined now by Jackson Kauraisa, who is a sports journalist right there in Windhoek. Jesse, good morning. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, and thank you for having me on your show. It is indeed a privilege.
Thank you so much. Now let's get into the thick of things as quickly as possible. What are the feelers from the streets? Probably before we start from there before we go to the match itself, because I know Namibians are expecting the Brave Warriors to really go all out and win this game so as to qualify for the African Cup of Nations as well as top that group. What's the feeling like, the atmosphere like in Namibia?
Well, Samson, everyone is expecting us to qualify. We know that we just need 1 point to qualify for our 4th African Cup of Nations. And everyone, I can tell you that the atmosphere here in the country is lit. Everyone is expecting the team to do well. It has been the case ever since we beat Cameroon. Everyone knew that we do really now stand a very good chance to qualify. And I can tell you that the flags are out. People are getting ready to watch it. It will be 3 o'clock here, Namibian time. We know the match is in Tanzania. But of course, we know that Burundi is quite a difficult team, but I can tell you that the vibe and the social media, people are going crazy. They know that we are just this close from making it to Ivory Coast.
Okay, let's look at the match now, because this is a big one, and we know quite well that you have Absalom Limbodi leading the line. But more importantly, I think the focus for Namibia, or the Brave Warriors, if you want to call them that, will be Mamelodi Sundowns striker Peter Shalulile, who has had an impressive season with Mamelodi Sundowns. Unfortunately, they couldn't get to a CAF Champions League final. For the match itself, how do you see this playing out? What are your expectations going into the match today?
I think we do have a coach that has played in Germany before, and he likes everyone playing on the ball. He likes the energy delivered on the field. And that's why he has the kind of players he has selected for this one. And as you rightfully mentioned it, a guy like Peter Shalulile, who is indeed our talisman, a player that has done so well for the country and the club. So I think our hopes will be rested on him in this one. We expect the team to go all out, full of confidence, because they know that they just need a point for this one. And I know that sometimes if you play against a team like Burundi, you know that they can also be hard to crack and might also pose a threat. Mind you, they have beaten us before. So we really have to be very cautious in this one and approach the game with absolute caution, but with the will to win this one.
Okay, I like the fact that you said there has to be the will, to win this game. Now, let's look at what possible qualification means for, Namibian football. We know quite well that the FA was in the eye of the storm recently, pulling out of that joint bid for the African Cup of Nations 2027. But the reason given for, the withdrawal is that the government of Namibia couldn't, fund the bid, as it were, the hosting rights, because it was quite expensive for the government. If Namibia qualifies, we know they stand to rake in so much money from CAF as a result of that qualification. So what does a possible qualification mean for Namibia in terms of football developments in the country?
Yes, I think, Samson, it's no secret that we have gone through a very difficult period in our football. There was a time that even league football was not being played in this country, and a lot of players, over 400 players that were playing locally here, did not have the opportunity to play. And now that we are on the verge once again of making it to the Ivory Coast, I'm sure qualifying will just change the ambitions and hopes of many of these players, especially also maybe encourage the government to develop infrastructure. And you know that one of the things is that most of the times our players, exporting our players has also been one difficult thing. So an opportunity like this, which comes for many of these players that will be able to be watched throughout from everywhere in the world, you would think that they do have a great opportunity to be scouted and play in other leagues. I hope there will be one Nigerian team that can take one of our players though as well. But in terms of football development itself and leadership, I think qualifying to this tournament will just change and blow a different wind of change than that has been happening in this country. In the past, it has taken us almost 10 years to qualify for a tournament of this nature. But this time around, it has not been that long because we know that 2018, we participated. So I think we are right up there. It's good for the development of football in this country.
Okay, thank you so much. We're wishing Namibia the very best in their match against Burundi. Thank you so much, Jackson Kauraisa, for your time on the show this morning.